Alright guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about fair value gaps. Basically, what is a fair value gap and what's the purpose of it? So what I've done, I've just highlighted this very simple looking fair value gap here. And to be clear, a fair value gap is the inefficient delivery of price. And basically, we only are going to be seeing price move in one direction. So this dark candle here is a sell side candle. There are only sellers in the market here. So we are selling to the downside. Okay, so you get two forms of fair value gaps. One is buy side delivery, one is sell side delivery. This example right here is your sell side delivery. If I was to highlight another fair value gap, this would be a bullish fair value gap here. And it's basically that wick to this wick. That is a bullish fair value gap because there is only buyers in here. So that's buy side delivery. Now, we like to utilize these levels for a couple of things: entries and confirmation, because essentially this is leaving behind price action that the algorithm likes to come back into to rebalance price. Now, you will see plenty of these fair value gaps all around, but you have to understand where you're looking for the high probability fair value gap and obviously just the normal fair value gaps that you kind of see here. There are more ways and more variables towards fair value gaps, such as this one here, which is known as an inverse fair value gap. That's a bit of teaching for later on or into more of an advanced mentorship. But for now, just focus on these types of fair value gaps here. This is what's called sell side imbalance. Okay, so sellers here, and it's inefficient to buyers. So you've probably heard ICT call them BISIs and SIBIs. This is sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, because there are only sellers in the market right here, and buyers have to come back in to this level to rebalance price action. Vice versa, this would be buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. So as you can see, price in this one here is an example. When we were delivering to the buy side, we created this buy side imbalance, sell side inefficiency. As you can see, sellers came back down, rebalanced into this area, and then pushed to the upside. Okay, so essentially what we're looking for is, what it basically means is that price is in a hurry to reach a certain price point. Usually it's liquidity, because I've said before and I'll say it again, the market is usually looking to seek towards just two things: areas of inefficient price action, which we now know is this sell side imbalance, and liquidity, which you can see here is this low. Price can travel into these areas as much as it wants to. You can see here the wick came up, back down. The wick came up again and again and again, and then eventually went in its direction. Now, it's worth noting a couple of things with these fair value gaps, because you can measure these fair value gaps here, and 50% of a fair value gap is a popular area where price will often rebalance into. And you can see here, this line indicates 50% of this fair value gap, and that wick there and this wick here never made it to the 50% mark of the fair value gap. So price comes back to retest this level and then down again, and then back to retest again and then down again. And when you see an expansion like this to the downside, you've obviously got a positive reaction towards this area of liquidity. So essentially there, the categorization is that you get it in two forms, and it is just sell side or buy side, like this one right here. So basically just think of it like this: there are only going to be buyers here or sellers such as here. So hopefully you've got your candles maybe marked in a different color. So buyers here for me is blue, and coming downside here is darker colors. So that there is an easy way to just understand that that is sell side imbalance, that is buy side imbalance, and it is inefficient to the opposite price point. So what I mean by that is, because this here is sell side imbalance, therefore it would be inefficient to buyers. And essentially we'd like to look at price coming back in to this level to rebalance. Now, for me, I like to use these as entries, but there has to be other variables with it. And you can find different variables all the time. Because if you squeeze into all of these price points here, if I just highlight this area here and maybe go onto a smaller time frame, you can see that when price reaches this imbalance like it has done right here, you will get a high being created, and then price will eventually expand to the downside. And if you look here, it's creating another area of imbalance. So once again, this new imbalance that you see here is your sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. Buyers have come back in, rebalanced this whole fair value gap, and then dropped lower. And you can even see here, if you look at price carrying on to the downside, we've got another fair value gap, which we can see price has come back into. So sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency. Price comes back to the order block, which is going to be the next lesson. Then price comes back down. And once again, price has swept into this imbalance right here, currently respecting it. So all you have to do, have a little look and do some back testing and see how many of these imbalances you can find and how many times price has actually been respecting these levels. It doesn't work every time. Obviously, there are variables to it, as I've mentioned. This is the very basics of it. This is the whole point of this playlist, to give you the basic anatomy of all of this. But this should hopefully give you a better understanding of what they are, what they do, and the purpose of it. This is a really nice re-entry point from a higher time frame area of imbalance that we're currently respecting. So hopefully you enjoyed this lesson, and I will see you on the next one.